Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to talk about the different ways that I store my hard baits, my jigs, my spinner baits, buzz baits, things like that. There's nothing worse than when you're fishing and you're in a hurry and you can't find the bait that you're looking for. So I try to keep all my stuff pretty tidy together and very organized. So here's just a couple tips of how I store some different baits and different ways that I go about things. We'll start with crankbaits. Crankbaits are pretty self-explanatory. I usually store them by size or by type and then by color. So you see, like, this box has all my wiggle warts and my rock crawlers in it, which is a very seasonal type bait. And usually I use it a lot in the springtime if I do use it. By having both of these style baits in the same box, if I'm not using it, like let's say midsummer, I'm throwing deep crankbaits, I don't need to take this box in the boat. And so by having all these baits in one box and not having like deep crankbaits mixed in and everything like that, I can take some of the weight out of my boat and not have those in there. Same way with, like, I'll have a box with 6XDs, I'll have a box with like Rapala deep crankbaits, and then I'll have a box with like smaller Rapala baits. But the main thing that I do on all of my hard baits and my jigs and anything that I'm concerned about is I will put them in these waterproof. The latches on them are a little bit better, and it's got a gasket for a seal around the edge. And what that does is it keeps the water out of the baits, and it keeps my baits from rusting or anything like that. So one of the things that I do with my jigs is I'll have little Ziploc bags, just little snack size bags. And what I'll do is, this is a bad example because I don't have any in here, but what I'll do is I will put baits that I haven't used in there yet. So like, for example, this is a 1/2 ounce, and I have 3 of each bait in there, and then after I use that, I'll just kind of set them on top of the baggies. So I know which baits have been used. I know these are fresh, so if I end up having in a tournament or something, or tying on the night before, I know that I've never thrown these baits. The hooks are perfectly sharp, brand new. I can grab those and throw those on there before I use an older hook. That's kind of the way I store my jigs and my chatterbaits. Another thing that I've done for the last few years is I will use a cheap label maker that I just bought from Walmart, but it really helps you figure out which baits you got. I'll put a tag on them on the front and both sides of them, and what that'll do is whenever I go into my compartment and I'm searching through all these different boxes that all look the same, I can just look and say, oh, those are my flipping jigs. That's the box I want. Grab it out. It's a lot more efficient that way rather than having to search, pull one out, realize it's the wrong box, put it back in, and just keep going that way. By putting those labels on it, it's just more efficient, and I can find that box right away. Another thing I'll do is I tend to put the same boxes in the same spot in my boat. My Plano boxes are in the same order, so whenever I go to grab something, I know exactly where that box is, and I try to put it back the same spot so that I'm more efficient the next time I need to get it out. Here's another box. This is actually homemade jigs, and I actually made a video on how to make homemade jigs. These are my homemade jigs, and I have a whole box full of them, and I like to organize those by size and color so that I know exactly what I'm getting when I grab for one. And also, if you mix too many colors, a lot of times the colors will fade into each other and change the actual color, and we don't want that. I had trouble storing my buzz baits and my spinner baits, and I really didn't find a good way to do that. You can get the storage racks that they just kind of sit in there. I had that, and then it got water in it the one time. All my spinner baits were ruined. This is something I started doing a few years ago, and it's worked out pretty good for me. Whether it'll work for you or not, I don't know. But I use the same waterproof case that I use for all my other hard baits. This is a 3741-1. It doesn't have any dividers in it. It actually had some dividers, but I was able to remove them. What I do is I'll put brand new spinner baits still in the box. I know they haven't been thrown at all. I got a couple of them in there, and then I have some Ziploc bags of the used ones, and I'll label those. So like, this is a 1/2 ounce chartreuse and white. Same way with this, it's 1/2 ounce. So I label them by size and by color. Make sure that you put those in Ziploc bags. That way you keep them completely dry. It's just an added level of protection for your hooks, so you don't want to get them all rusty. And spinner baits, being that they got a wire and the blade and everything, they will tend to rust up a little bit easier too. And same way with the buzz baits. I do the same exact thing for my buzz baits as I do for my spinner baits. I have this same box, and this one actually I left the divider in, and so this half I have just bags of used buzz baits that I still plan on using. They're still perfectly fine, they're just not brand new. And then I have this side where I put all my new buzz baits that I haven't thrown yet. It works out pretty good for me. So that's pretty much how I store my hard baits and my spinner baits, buzz baits, jigs, anything like that. Another thing I'll talk about is my frogs. And this is something that I learned from Chad Morgenthaler. So a way to store your frogs in order to keep these tails from getting all nasty and shriveling up with the hot sun is what I'll do is I'll take baby powder and I'll sprinkle it on these tails, and it'll keep them soft, and it'll keep them from shriveling up whenever it gets hot in there or anything like that to mess up those tails. Sometimes it takes a long time to organize this stuff and get it the way you want it, but it really will save you a ton of time on the water. And that's something that I've tried to do the last 3 or 4 years, is to be more efficient on the water with how I organize my baits. I think it makes a huge difference. Some people just throw their stuff in here, and I really think organization and having all your stuff in line, knowing exactly where it's at, it really saves you a ton of time on the water. And it may only seem like it's a minute here, minute there, but at the end of the day, or even at the end of the week or the season, it really adds up. And you'd be surprised how much time you can save by using some of these tricks. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to follow for more, and we'll see you guys next time.